Welcome back to Visual Arts on the Virtual Corner. This week we're going to be talking about a spiritual practice called Visio Divina, or divine seeing. It's possible that you are more familiar with Lectio Divina, or maybe you have participated in some sort of Bible study or church experience where you undergo that spiritual practice. That Lectio Divina actually means divine hearing, and they're very similar spiritual practices. In Lectio Divina, you would read through a scripture passage, someone would read it out loud, and the first time that you hear the passage, you'd be listening for just one word to kind of capture your attention. The second time that it would be read out loud, you'd be listening for a longer phrase, maybe 2 or 3 words. And then a final third time that it would be read out loud, you'd be listening for a full sentence or maybe a theme or some sort of kind of overarching idea that would really kind of capture your attention. The idea being that it's kind of a way to encounter scripture in a new and different way and really be connected and listening very deeply to what the Spirit is saying and how the Spirit is moving among the group or among just yourself if you're doing it alone. Visio Divina is very similar in a number of ways. The first way that it's the most similar, I think, is that you start really, really small and then you move a lot broader. And that will make a little bit more sense as we kind of get into this. But it's a spiritual practice that very much requires you to be in a spiritual state. So you will want to be sitting somewhere comfortable. You'll want to be able to kind of control your breathing. So you'll want to kind of be sitting in a way that feels kind of open and allowing for the Spirit to move. And you can do this pretty much anywhere. You can do it inside, you can do it outside, you can utilize almost anything that you have. But the idea would be that it's very intentional. So you would start off the practice by offering a prayer. And it doesn't have to be long or really incredible. It can just be a prayer inviting God into the space, asking the Spirit to move through the time that you are participating in this spiritual practice, and asking God to come near to you and to maybe bring something new out of an image that you're looking at. Now, Visio Divina can be done with literally anything, as I mentioned. It could be done with hand-drawn artwork. It can be done with more professional artwork. It could be done with sculpture. And my favorite is that it can also be done with really fun fabrics or textiles. And I show you all of this because none of this, well, this one has some religious tones to it because it's hand-drawn onto an old sheet of choir music. But the rest of the examples I gave, including my favorite here, are not religious artwork. There is definitely something to wanting to use religious artwork, and some people really prefer to do that as they're going through this spiritual practice, but it's really not required. And I say that you can use any of these mediums, and I also say that you can really just go outside and enjoy nature. That's another really great way to participate in this spiritual practice, because all you're really doing throughout this practice is asking God to kind of show you the world or show you an image in a way that you haven't ever really noticed it before. And so it's taking that time to really slow down and stop and pause and take a breath and enter into this space with the Spirit. It can be done for any amount of time that you want to participate. It's really just kind of up to you. Some people like to make it a longer exercise because it takes them a little bit longer to get into a spiritual state. I know for me that's very much the case. If I'm gonna participate in this, I need like a, I don't know, 5 minute warm up to just kind of sit and breathe and really feel like I'm in a space where I can kind of entertain this and really kind of enter into this relationship. So the first step is opening with a prayer. The second step is really choosing what you want your inspiration to be. I think I'm gonna kind of look at this fabric, and I think I'm gonna maybe take just a smaller section of it. A lot of times, if you have something really busy, you might be there a while, and so especially if you're outside, you might just want to frame off like one specific area that you want to look at. So the idea with Visio Divina is that you would start by looking at one tiny piece of the fabric, of the artwork, of whatever. You'd start very small. You don't even want to take in the whole image at first. And so for me, I am looking at one gold thread on this fabric and really looking at the way that it interacts with other threads in the fabric, the way that it kind of crisscrosses one and kind of goes in a different direction over another fabric or another string. And then you kind of start looking at it a little bit bigger. So I am moving from that one thread to looking at how that thread then interacts to make a larger image. You know, it kind of looks like it might be some petals of a flower. It has some different shapes and fluidity to it. You really want to kind of consider the first impressions of what you see. Whatever you are thinking about, whatever you're looking at, nothing that comes into your mind is wrong. You want to kind of open yourself up to whatever it is that you're thinking. So, you know, perhaps you notice like one small spot of a cloud and some funky shape just really catches your eye, or one color, like the gold thread was exactly where I started because that color kind of and the kind of the abstract pattern kind of caught my eye. So you want to start really slow and really zoomed in, and then kind of slowly expand your vision. You really want to kind of pay attention to what you're thinking and what you're feeling in the moment. If there are images that kind of come to light for you as you're kind of looking at this, you know, what do those images really bring up for you? What do you start thinking about? What does it remind you of? Who does it remind you of? What feeling does it kind of stir up? What memory does it kind of bring to light? Just be really open to kind of anything and everything that will kind of come up for you as you're going through this process. And the final step would be just to listen to God's voice in this. Silence is a really important aspect of Visio Divina. It's a little bit different if you're outside, but the taking the time to be still and to really listen is important. People have called this spiritual practice either listening with your eyes or praying with your eyes. And both of them are true. But basically, it's just a way to kind of come in contact with God through an image instead of through other senses that you normally use. The last thing that I would say about kind of focusing on the image and focusing really focusing with this spiritual practice would be the response. And it can be really tempting to just kind of go through all the steps really quickly and, say, okay, I started in this corner of the painting and I noticed this, and this, and then I kind of got bigger and I noticed this, and this, and, this made me think of this, and that brought up this memory, and then I kind of looked at the whole picture and I said, it's a really pretty landscape, and, well, that was a fun exercise, and just kind of move on with your day. But the entire point of the spiritual practice is to be really intentional. And so the intentionality also runs through the response, which would be to kind of say a prayer at the end, to kind of ask God to let that image be on your mind throughout the day. If you do choose something smaller, not as large as this, you can put it on your fridge and look at it throughout the day or throughout the week to kind of bring back some of those memories and some of the thoughts and feelings that came about as you were doing this. And the other thing that I would say is, if you're a journaler, that can be another way to kind of engage this. So you can kind of journal down some of your responses to the experience of praying with your eyes. So that's kind of the spiritual practice in a nutshell. There is a handout available on the website as well for you to kind of go through each of the steps of how to do Visio Divina, and I wish you all good luck. There will be a time to share what your experience was like on a Zoom call, probably later next week. So be on the lookout for that, and let me know how you enjoy this.